And good evening, everyone. Welcome. And for some of you, morning. I think it would be morning for you in London there. So welcome to everyone from wherever you are. And that means not just where you are geographically located, but whether you are or where you are in your hearts as well. We are talking about menopause. And menopause is a difficult time, or can be. So you're either here because you're thinking you're in it, or you're definitely in it, or you're preparing for it. Your mum had a terrible time, or your friend had a terrible time, and you think, oh, I better get myself informed. Or you're through it and you're still got a few hot flushes or something that you're dealing with. Whatever it is, you're welcome here to the Menopause Lounge. I call it the Menopause Lounge, but I'm drinking tea, so grab yourself a tea. You might also like to grab yourself a notepad and pen, because I'm going to give you lots of information. I'm going to ask you to interact with me. I'm going to I have some slides and I'm going to pop over to them occasionally. But mainly I'd like to be able to see you guys and answer your questions. As far as answering questions go, pop them into the chat and we'll have pauses along the way for me to have a look at that and let you know whether I can answer that or not at this time. Just a little disclaimer, because we are talking about health. And to be honest, our health or disease industry is highly regulated. And many of the conditions that we are familiar with, and even life transitions, have been medicalized, as many of you would be aware. And so everyone needs to tread carefully when we're talking about health. And so for that, I would encourage you to remember that this training tonight is educational only. It's for educational purposes only, and that you are encouraged to seek professional advice if there's anything going on for you. And really that's about not waiting and avoiding getting treatment for something that really should have been caught early on. So just so you're aware, this is just educational today. Hopefully it's fun and educational as well. So what are we dealing with? Okay, so when we were teenagers, maybe you remember being 10 years old and you were playing along, completely oblivious, innocent, feisty maybe, a bit of a tomboy maybe, a bit of a girly girl, playing with the neighbours or out and about or whatever you were doing. And then maybe your mother had this conversation, this strange conversation with you about what was going to happen soon, and you kind of thought, whatever. And then a few years later, or, depending on where you were at, oh my goodness, all this stuff started to change, and your body changed, your moods changed, what you're interested in changed, how you interacted with people changed, what people expected of you changed, everything changed. And basically what drove that is estrogen. Estrogen and her companions flooded in. So the tide of estrogen came in. And then she was a little kind of maybe ebbing and flowing a little bit. So you didn't know whether you're after Arthur or Martha for a while. But suddenly you're interested in boys and boys are interested in you. You're very vain. You have to look in the mirror all the time. This drive to connect with and partner with somebody was there. This libido that you suddenly had, all this kind of stuff going on. You might remember it. Well, it's high tide for a long time. High tide is pretty much 20s, 30s, 40s, some of your 40s. And then the tide starts to go out. And nobody really sat you down at 40 and said, this is what's about to happen. It was just, well, nobody really wants to know, because the common narrative out there is that what you're moving into is aging and horrible, and nobody wants to talk about it anyway. And so what started to happen, maybe rarely it might happen in her early 40s, maybe roughly around mid 40s, but certainly by late 40s, things start to change, periods change, moods change, what you're attracted to changed, what you were interested in changed, all this stuff changing. And basically you can hear it's the reverse of what was happening when you're a teenager. But it's very little understood and very strange for us, because we don't really know what's normal. We don't really know what's meant to be happening. We don't know what's next. And I find most women, even if they're getting a few changes, are in denial about it being perimenopause. It's kind of like, no, just my periods are heavy, or I'm stressed, or it's my thyroid, or I haven't been eating as well lately, or. And so, unfortunately, and myself included, there was this sense of, I just don't want to know. I just don't want to know. So for that reason, I do acknowledge you, all of you, for being here today, because that shows something special about you guys wanting to learn more. And I really acknowledge you for that, because that's, I think, fantastic, not just for yourself, but for the people around you, your friends who are also going through it, and so on. Now, I would just love to get a little bit of a feedback from you in the chat, and hear from you what you're willing to share, of course. But, what had you be interested in this talk tonight? What was it that you thought you might get out of it? What you were interested in, maybe a symptom, maybe a theory, maybe, the title interested you. There's some of the topics in the title interested you. I'd love to hear from you. And that way I can make sure that you get your answers as well. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe, your experience of menopause, or the lack of information, or your grandmother didn't talk to you about it and your mother didn't talk to you about it, and you're kind of like, I'm sure there's got to be more to all of this. So, yeah, overcoming manicness, mania, and anxiety, and power surges, also known as hot flushes, I think. That's what you're referring to now. Yeah. How to deal with hot flushes and sweats. Oh my gosh, yes. That can be very uncomfortable. And if you don't want everyone else to see what you're saying, you can do the little blue box there where it says everyone. You can click the down arrow and you can message me directly, and I promise I won't I won't disclose who it is. Waking up. Oh yes, the sleeplessness is one of the biggest symptoms, actually. One of the most common symptoms, sleeplessness. Weight gain, again, very common. It's almost like it's predictable. Like it's just menopause. You're kind of meant to put on 15 kilos, and that's not accurate. Fatigue, difficulty concentrating, brain fog, absolutely. Anxiety at sleep, exactly. Okay, great. 44, yes, you're about that great age group. Cycle changing, cycle shortening, cycle getting more heavy, the period getting heavier, that kind of thing. It's all common. I wouldn't say normal, it's all common. Hot flushes, being sweaty. Yeah, that's such a big thing, isn't it? All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. That just tells me that you're all in the right place. So let me just give you a little bit of introduction to who I am. So for those of you who don't know me, I can just give you a quick summary. So my original qualification was naturopath. So I've been a naturopath for 30 years. And that includes, in Australia at least, that, and went back when I did it, that included becoming a nutritionist, a homeopath, a herbalist, and a body worker. And it was really the nutrition part that I fell in love with, and supporting that with herbal medicine, which is absolutely amazing, and other things, specializing now in midlife and menopause. So I'm called the natural menopause expert because I have expertise, not because I feel like an expert necessarily, but I have this expertise, which I am trying to share with as many people as I can. I'm also a credentialed life coach, so I bring a lot of life coaching concepts into my training. Certified clinical aromatherapist and energetic medicine practitioner. So the oils, you know, the oil blends are not never far. Love oils. They're very helpful spiritually, emotionally, and very good physically as well. So I've put on a little bit of a blend tonight that's for inspiration, so that I can inspire you tonight. I'm also a yoga and meditation teacher. I teach at Virgin Active here locally. I'm a chapter leader for the nutrition organisation, the Western Price Foundation, and I believe very strongly in the Wise Traditions diet. And I am a presenter and educator of the Wise Traditions and Women's Mysteries and the Art of Feminine Presence. So for me, this combination brings together the mind, the body, mind being mental and emotional, and then the spiritual aspects as well. All right, so that's a little bit about me. What we're doing tonight is we're going to talk a little bit about sort of definition of perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, just so we're all clear. I'm going to give you concepts, so 4 or 5 or maybe a few more of these concepts that will completely shift your perspective on menopause. And that's my goal. My goal is that you walk away from here tonight, even if you don't decide to go any further with anything that we're doing here, that you have a fresh perspective that actually empowers you, that makes you feel positive about yourself and your life. I'd like to share with you what my approach is and how you can find out about more. And then I have a special treat, and what that is, I emailed those who'd registered early, I emailed about it this morning. What I'd like to do, and I hope this works, is offer somebody 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, to do some one-to-one with me, some coaching one-to-one. Now, I know that you have to be very brave and bold to do that with me in front of an audience, but I'm going to invite you to, what's the expression? Strap your, or put your big girl panties on and join me for a one-to-one. And the reason for that is because what you're going through, so are other women. And it's really nice to share, and it's really nice for me to actually apply some of these things that I'm talking about that may be a little bit conceptual to somebody specifically. So we'll find the best way to do that. And you'll notice I use my hands a lot. All right. Thanks, Julie. I'm just reading some notes here. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like I'm the mum that people didn't have, that gives you the little talk at 40 that tells you what's coming, even if you're probably 50 or 55 by now. All right. So just a little caveat, couple of things. I'm not normal. I'm not mainstream. I'm not the status quo narrative about menopause. I'm not. You won't get quick fixes from me, really. You won't get. Well, I'm going to share more about what you will get in a minute, but just know that I have a very different perspective on things, and I like to think that it's very positive. Some of it you'll know already, and some of it you'll have tried already, and maybe I'll give it to you in a different perspective. Some of it is simple, really simple, kitchen medicine and women's medicine, And I'm a big believer in women being the kitchen managers, and or you know, I call myself my queen of my kitchen, or the kitchen goddess. I love being in my kitchen. It's my healing place. So some of these things that I'm talking about are seemingly old-fashioned, but I actually think they're progressive in many ways. And so basically, if you're here and you really want solid information on how to be energized and vivacious and vibrant, and the best weight that you can be, given your genetics, given your lifestyle, and you're interested in the calmness that comes with maturity and with presence and with understanding. And the other part of it, I have to tell you, if you would like to age disgracefully, you're kind of in the right place too, because I just think we should have absolute fun and do whatever. Hello, Gisela. I'll just actually fix this up. Gisela, maybe you can put yourself on mute, darling, so that, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Lovely to have you. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit about my story, and so that you have a sense of where I'm coming from. My menopause, I'm postmenopausal. I'm in my mid-50s. I have had a terrible menopause in many ways, and now I'm living my best years. I have to say, these are the best years of my life. And the reason my menopause was terrible was not because I was necessarily all that unhealthy, because I wasn't. I mean, I've been a naturopath for a long time. I discovered that a lot of even the naturopathic wisdom and the common wisdom out there that we think of what is healthy is actually wrong, especially for late 40s, 50s, 60s women. Flogging yourself at the gym to try and lose a few kilos is absolutely counterproductive. And I was doing that. I was 5 or 6 times at the gym. I was in a super highly stressed, high-strung job. I was in a high-level manager in a corporation, traveling, you know, at least once a month around the country. I would never stop. I had no time. I was always on the go. Even when I was resting, I was on the go. And while I didn't suffer like a lot of women with some of the things that I see on the internet, and some of my clients that I see, absolutely incredible autoimmune diseases and all kinds of things that really come out at that time. But I did, my version of menopause was basically burnout. And I realized out of that I was in the wrong job. I was trying to control my life rather than go with the flow, and that wasn't working. I had so many failures. I felt like an utter failure at one point, very, very dark time a few years ago. And what's beautiful from there is that I found the right resources for myself. And I'll give you the 3 that I found for me. And one was the Wise Woman's Gathering. I went along to a Wise Woman's Gathering, and I found my clan, I found my tribe of herbalists and healers and midwives and teachers and naturopaths. And I learned about the rites of passage of menopause. It was absolutely lifted my brain, it was unbelievable. The second thing I found was something called the Art of Feminine Presence, and it taught me how to get out of my head and into my body. I was one of these intellectual types. I can show you my wall up here with all the study that I've done. Can you see all of that? Study. I loved it. Every second year I was in another qualification. So I loved it up here in my head. But my mind was running my life rather than my soul, if you like. And so the Art of Feminine Presence taught me a huge amount. And it was a skill I had to learn, and I practiced it in the moment with the Art of Feminine Presence techniques. I went along to lots of trainings down in Melbourne, 6 days at a time, lots of them. And then I also started to bring it into my yoga and into my meditation as well. I found the Insight Timer app. Many of you will be familiar with that, and started to practice guided visualization. And it's all made a huge difference. And so now I've left my corporate job. 2.5 years ago, I started my own business, something that I'd wanted to do forever. Tried it a few times and failed. This time there's no plan B. I'm engaged now to the man of my dreams, who I absolutely adore. So that's happening. So many things that kind of never really happened for me have started to manifest. And oh my God, it's so exciting. So that's a little bit about my story, and I share it because it's very typical of what's meant to happen in that process that we call menopause, or the change. So let me go into that in a little bit more detail. So I'm just going to show you a slide. Hopefully I can do that. I'm going to just quickly show you a slide. Just let me know if you can see that. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, can you see the moons? All right, so perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. Let's just get the definition right. So perimenopause, peri means around, like a periscope. You look up in a periscope and you can see around like this, okay? So perimenopause is the 2 to 13 years, that's the longest number I've seen, around the ending of your period. So it doesn't really finish if periods stop, it's kind of really a year or 2 or 3 after your period stops as well. Officially, the menopause, technically, according to the medical profession at least, I suppose there's probably other definitions, is 1 year after your last period. Some say 2 years after your last period, and honestly, you never really know when your last period is going to be. But that's menopause technically is that no more period now for 12 months. And then postmenopause is everything onwards from, a year or 2 after your period stops up to, 80, 90, however old you get to. And so that gives you a sense that the definition out there of what what menopause is really perimenopause. And so if you have a blood test and it says you're not in menopause, well, that could be because your hormones haven't changed enough yet to be quite close to the end of your period, but you can be in perimenopause, some people say 10 years before your periods cease. I mean, isn't that fun? That's, I know that can be like, oh my gosh, for people, but that gives you a sense of, even if you're 45, that you might be experiencing menopausal symptoms. All right, let me get my information back from you and I'll have a look at the chat in a moment. And please feel free to ask me questions as we plod along. And just dealing here with my slides, won't be a second. Beautiful. All right, let me have a look at chat. Love to see chat. All right, Kate. Oh yes, Claire. Thank you. How to post-menopause, side effects. It was over quickly, but didn't know how much about it. Okay. Yeah, general information. And last cycle was 363 days. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Debbie, you're about to be officially branded. I mean that affectionately, of course. 2 more days and you're there, babe. Join the ranks. It's awesome. All right, so now I'd like to present to you some key concepts that are for you to consider, for you to mull over. And some of them you'll be familiar with, some of them will be deeper understandings of what you already know. But basically, the first concept is that menopause is normal. Now, I know that that's not rocket science, but you'll often see it medicalized in the media, on Facebook, in information. You know, people, they might say at the end, oh, it's not a disease, it's a transition. But the language and the approach to menopause is that there's something wrong and you have a disease. And that is completely wrong. So what's happening? Let me tell you about what's happening. I told you about estrogen, the tide of estrogen withdrawing. And that's completely right. So it's not just estrogen, no. There's several other hormones that are with it, progesterone and FSH and LH. These are all changing as well. And what estrogen does, if you think back to being a teenager, what estrogen does is it hijacks you. It hijacks you because we are programmed primarily deep within for the survival of the species. And for that to happen, we have to reproduce. So whether you like it or not, puberty hits and we become reproductive women. And there are certain things that we biologically need for that to happen. We need our hips to widen. We need breasts for breastfeeding. We need a cycle. We need things to shift and change. And, you know, it is all connected to the moon, although I'm not going to go into a lot of that detail today. Also, that's biological things, but there's also some biological underpinning to our mood and our emotional changes as well. So we have to want to be interested in the opposite sex. Now, if you're gay or anything other than heterosexual, then that obviously changes. But from a basic foundational level, to reproduce, from this biological survival mechanism to reproduce, we need a man. And so we become attracted to the opposite sex. And so in order for us to copulate with men, we need a libido. We need to be interested in that. We need the pleasure of that. We need incentives, right? We need incentives. Otherwise, we'd probably go off and climb Everest or something. And we also, once we have the children, we also need to ensure the survival of the babies and of the children. And so we become, how do I explain this? We put our needs second to the needs of the family, because the survival of the children is essential for the survival of the species. And so estrogen has an effect on us, making us compliant. It's called the hormone of compliance. As my teacher says, you kind of go from anything you need, honey, whether that's your partner or your kids, to once estrogen withdraws in your late 40s and early 50s, normally, it can be other times. It can be earlier from hysterectomies or, chemotherapy for other reasons. It can disappear much more quickly. But generally around the age 50, estrogen disappears and suddenly it's, get it yourself, dear. So if you felt that, I just am sick of looking after everyone all the time, then that's biological. That's because estrogen is withdrawing. And I'm going to share something with you from Dr. Christiane Northrup. Some of you will know her. She talks about this in her book, The Wisdom of Menopause. It's absolutely brilliant. And I'll just see if I can find that little quote from her to read you, because she does it quite well. I'm not checking the where did I put it, lovelies? Where did I put it? Oh, I might have to, yeah, hold on a second. I'll come back to it. Anyway, let me tell you in essence, she talks about the woman who threw the turkey out the window in rage. And it was pretty much because, it's like your kids, I mean, your kids are after you, and everybody wants a bit of you, and employees or your staff or your boss. And you get to this point where this sort of rage bubbles up. She calls it volcanic. It comes up. And if you suppress it, it can come out inappropriately, because we're fairly well trained to be to suppress our anger. And so it can come out as rage, as frustration, as arguments, as conflicts with your teens, conflicts with your partner. This is all very normal to have this outbursts, if you like, especially at the dinner table. So menopause is normal. That's the first thing I want to remind you of. And then the next concept that I want to share with you is that the better shape that you're in prior to menopause, the better your menopause will be. So hints at how well you're going to do menopause, at least sort of physically, is that if you're already having terrible PMS, then you're very likely, as the theory goes, you're very likely to have a much worse menopause. Or if you get very low mood around PMS or menstrually, then that's likely to be how you'll experience menopause. Or if you get fluid retention or a bit of weight gain prior to menopause, prior to periods, then that's potentially what you'll get in your menopause as well. So, but some of the things to be aware of if you're in your early 40s, and that is the biggest thing you can do is have good adrenal health. And adrenal health is a naturopathic concept. Your adrenals are where your adrenaline comes from, your cortisol, and a whole stack of other things. And it's not technically correct, but we say that you're adrenally fatigued if you're burnt out, exhausted, run down, all those things. If your immune system is all over the place, if you're getting anxious, if you can't sleep, or you sleep so much you can't get out of bed, this is all linked back to your adrenals and your endocrine system, which is your hormonal system. That, of course, is worsened by stress, and it is considered that stress is greatest on menopausal women. So around mid-40s, late 40s, early 50s is the most pressured time for women because of all the things going on in their life. There's aging parents, there's teenage kids potentially, or adult kids. There's maybe conflict with partners as you work through your hormonal changes. Both of you men are going through hormonal changes as well. There's work pressures, because often women by the time they're 50 are in positions of responsibility. And then, of course, there's the hormonal changes associated with menopause. Extremely stressful time. And that can affect women in different ways. It can make you adrenally exhausted. In some people, that's how it works. In other people, it affects the thyroid, and you can get thyroid symptoms. And high thyroid or erratic thyroid is one of the potential causes of hot flushes, for those of you who are interested in learning about hot flushes. So erratic thyroid, when it's high, that's a higher metabolism, then you can get hot flushes at that point. You can also get hot flushes from insulin resistance. And if your stress has affected your blood sugars and you're maybe pre-diabetic or hypoglycemic, or you've got a family history of diabetes, then it may be, or you have a diet that's high in carbohydrates. So that can be, even for vegetarians who are eating quite well, a vegetarian diet by its nature tends to be higher in carbs. And so you could have this predisposition to insulin resistance and metabolic issues, including weight gain. That's my point. Insulin issues is a common contributor to weight gain, unhealthy weight gain. In my research, a weight gain of slow weight gain of 1 to 3 kilos over a period of a few years is considered normal and natural for menopausal women, and actually helps protect them from hot flushes and other things. But unhealthy weight gain all around the middle, 10 kilos, 15 kilos is not natural and is not healthy, because it's kind of the wrong type. It's the wrong type. And that the two major contributors to that are insulin problems, blood sugar problems, and stress. So cortisol. Cortisol puts you into famine mode and makes it difficult for the body to release weight. The other thing about being in good shape prior to menopause is your fitness levels. Your fitness levels will make menopause easier. A fitness routine helps protect your mood, keeps your mood elevated, and has many, many benefits physically, such as circulation, stimulating the circulation, toning internal organs because of the deep breathing, raising your endorphin levels and all these kinds of things. So having a fitness protocol that isn't overactivating your cortisol. So the 1 hour on the cycle, or the 1 hour on the treadmill, or 1 hour of boot camp, commando style, these things for most menopausal women will activate and elevate cortisol levels, which, as I just mentioned, makes weight loss impossible. And so if you're a type A person and you really have to kind of punch it out, it's going to be very hard for you, because you really got to learn to bring a bit of yin into your life, a little bit of slower tempo, a little bit of gentle walking, or some more yoga, or a more balanced exercise routine that doesn't elevate your cortisol levels all the time. And the other prerequisite, if you like, not prerequisite, but the thing that's going to make your menopause easier, if you're in the position to be able to get yourself in better shape in the next 3 or 5 years, is emotional resilience. More than anything, menopause is an emotional roller coaster. And that's because you're transitioning from a reproductive woman with all of the identity that goes with that, status, you know what you're doing, you know what you're responsible for, you know who's first, you're second, all of that's normal. For the reproductive woman, you're cycling, you're still connected to the moon, or we're always actually connected to the moon, but you have a period. There's all this identity tied up with being reproductive. You still have, estrogen keeps you more youthful. Estrogen is a natural steroid, so it is naturally anti-inflammatory. So even if you're not particularly healthy, you're protected by estrogen. And then all of that, the tide goes out, right? And what's happening is you're transitioning into either, you could call it a non-reproductive woman, but I would call it a wise woman. Eventually a wise woman. You're not quite wise at 51, but you're getting there. There's a wild stage there for a while. So I think the transition from reproductive to wise woman, I think by 70, you're really wise, hopefully. But in your 50s, this wildness comes out. It's such a great thing. It's powerful. It's forceful. It's amazing. It's courageous. It's got oomph. And so emotional resilience is really required to navigate those choppy waters. And so when I work with people, I am teaching them and helping them cultivate all of these skills so that they can be the best version of themselves later in life. Now I'll just finish off a couple more things, and then I'll ask you some questions. And where are we at time-wise? 8:15. Great. I've talked about insulin, weight, and menopause. So if you have any questions about that, pop those in the chat. There are other reasons for weight gain at menopause, and that can be emotional. So emotional distress often leads to comfort behavior. And alcohol can be one of those comforters, and so can food, so can chocolate, so can, well, they're the main ones. I suppose some people use recreational drugs, and some people use non-recreational drugs or medical drugs as well. So antidepressants can put on weight, HRT can put on weight, and these kinds of things. So this is much of this is rooted in a misunderstanding of what we're going through and why we're going through it. And so it becomes very frightening and very overwhelming and distressing when you're not sure what's going on with you. You have all these feelings and this anger and this rage and this irritability and this depression and this wanting to escape and wanting to go to India and meditate for 3 months and all this stuff going on. And it can feel like we're going crazy. So as I mentioned, menopause is an endocrine challenge for all women. All women go through the stress that is menopause. And it's how well you're set up to be able to deal with that determines to a large extent how you progress or how you navigate through menopause. The other huge thing correlated with these days is gut health. From a very physical perspective, poor gut health is an epidemic, and there's reasons for that. It's worsened by stress, it's worsened by poor diet, it's worsened by even drinking tap water, which has chlorine in it, which kills your own bugs inside of your belly. It's worsened by, of course, coffee and alcohol. It's worsened by medications. Antibiotics are in our food chain. The antibiotics kill our bacteria in our guts. It's worsened by hormone treatment. There's hormones in our food system as well. Unnecessary hormones, even taking the pill and so on. All these things upset our gut, and majority of people that I see have gut issues and don't really know how to deal with it so that it doesn't make it worse. Many people think, eat more fiber, eat more fiber. For some people, that's the worst thing that you can do. For others, it might be that's the right thing to do. It depends on your body tells you. Your body is your barometer. Your body is your neon sign saying something's not right. Your body is the road signs along the way. You know, you're off track. Don't go down this way, come back. Or you're on the right track, you're doing well. That's what your body tells you. And it's a beautiful language to learn, the language of the body. It's extremely intelligent. There's no accident where your symptoms are. I've got one client at the moment with lichen sclerosis. Lichen sclerosis is a terrible autoimmune condition that affects the vulva and the vagina. And it's very common actually, and it's quite difficult to treat, as all autoimmune conditions are, although not impossible, by the way. And there's this really clever symbolism in symptoms that, you know, our maker, whoever that is, has designed for us to really help us understand what we need to do to heal ourselves. So it's not something I can go into a great deal of detail, but if anyone's followed Louise Hay, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's other books that talk about what your symptoms may mean, but you can learn the language yourself. And when you do, to learn the language yourself, you have to come out of your head and into your body. And embodiment is the quickest way to releasing old patterns and releasing habits that aren't working for you, and releasing trauma and grief from the past. Embodiment is absolutely amazing. And the other concept that I wanted to tell you about is that menopause is a spiritual journey. Menopause is a rite of passage. Menopause is meant to be hard. Menopause is a fire that burns up the crap in your life that you no longer need. If you've been holding on to something for 20 years, guess what? It comes back full force, and you're almost forced to deal with it. So it's a huge time of reckoning. If you have swept everything under the carpet your whole life and not dealt with stuff, guess what? Now's the time. And it's not easy. And it's not easy. But as that stuff releases and you let go and you like, done, don't need to deal with that anymore. Done. My ex is, I'm finished with that. My parents, they did what they could. It's my life now, you know, that job, that boss that took all my money, you know, whatever, all of that stuff. You have the opportunity, the beautiful opportunity to release it, integrate it, release it. All right. I'm going to have a little pause there. I'm going to have a look in the chat. Now's the time. And please comment on the things that I'm talking about. I love feedback. I love interaction. It keeps you awake and keeps you with me. Oh, we've got more people. Fantastic. Great turnout tonight. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. If you came in a little bit late, you might have missed something that you think that doesn't make sense. So just ask away. Ask me privately or ask everyone. That's fine. I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. I'll tell you what I'm drinking. I've made up a tea formula for myself. It's fennel, licorice root, peppermint. That's mainly it. Fennel, licorice root, and peppermint. Fennel aids with digestion, particularly pancreatic function, and helps you to reduce sugar cravings and that kind of thing. Licorice is amazing. Licorice is an adrenal tonic. And then peppermint, of course, is cooling. It's one of the things you can do for hot flushes. Maybe make a peppermint iced tea or something, or make a peppermint spray and spray some essential oil. Diluted because it's very strong. That's a nice spray for cooling you down. And I drink this, once a day usually, just to keep a little bit of adrenal support happening, because I tell you, owning your own business is stressful. Okay, let me see your comments and your ahas. Pop in your ahas, because that will be helpful as well, because I'll save the chat and then I'll summarize when I send you my follow-up email tomorrow with the recording and everything. I can summarize some of the ahas, and especially for those people who didn't make it tonight as well. Some people are working and so on. I'm definitely in your head. Body, space, emotional state. Great. You're getting it. I'm glad some of you can relate to what I'm saying, or maybe all of you can relate to some of what I'm saying. The keto diet, I haven't really got to anything about the keto diet yet. I'm about to get that in a minute. going to talk a little bit more about practical things that are for your consideration. So you didn't miss anything, Tracy. Tracy Kim. Psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. Yeah. Lots of autoimmune conditions start at menopause or perimenopause. Lots of them. And you know why? My philosophy, my thinking is, one, you know how when we go to the doctor and we have an inflammatory condition, what drug do they give us? There you go. There's a little quiz question for you. What drug do the doctors give us for inflammatory conditions? See if you can type it in. Let me know before I tell you the answer. It takes a little while for it to come through. Yes, Gillian, legend. You get the prize. First one at least. Steroids. Steroids, and guess what estrogen is? It's a steroidal hormone. So estrogen is anti-inflammatory. Estrogen protects us. And when that protection goes away, it's like all our bad habits come to catch up with us. So that little bit of wine, that little bit of chocolate, that little bit of stress, that little bit of traveling overseas in Bali and having Bali belly and nothing really works since all of that catches up with you, and then you lose the protection of estrogen. And I think that's why they're so common in around perimenopause time. But it isn't normal. And yes, they say it's incurable. That's because you really have to get back to this quite simple, basic lifestyle with the pillars of health. And I'm going to go through those a little bit in more detail, Claire, so that you can understand a little bit deeper. Julian's listening from London. Thank you. I was hoping we'd get some London people. I want to connect you guys over there in London. Are a little bit more progressive, I've noticed, in as far as menopause goes. I know that there's some changes happening in the workplace around menopausal leave and that kind of thing. So love to have some connections in London. Georgie, preparing for the next 10 years. All right, great. So I've given you some things to consider, some things that are like the areas that you need to get good in: your gut health, your resilience, your fitness, your endocrine system, your adrenals, all those kind of things. And now I'm going to go through a little bit more on naturopathic approach to wellness. And if you're unfamiliar with naturopaths, or you're mostly grown up with the medical model of illness, it has its place, but I'm going to open up that and broaden that with you a little more, and and stick within our time frame. All right. Acupuncture, herbs, etc. Yeah. What I find often happens is people go to lots of different things, and I think it's really helpful and powerful to bring everything into the context of a comprehensive approach, someone who knows menopause, and then, you know, those other health professionals fit into that strategy that you have. All right, this is where you might want to take some notes. I'm going to go through some sort of 6 foundational principles of naturopathic healing, which is very different to our medical approach, which is, I affectionately say, and I have a lot of respect for doctors. I work with them all the time. I'm always asking my clients to go and get blood tests. I think they're amazing people. I just don't fully believe that their way of looking at things in the world is the only way. And the first thing is very, very basically, very simply, that to establish normal surroundings and natural habits. This is foundational for a healthy lifestyle. It's basically talking about a healthy lifestyle. So sleep hygiene. all the things you do leading up to sleep, super important. How you eat. Do you sit down and eat at a table without your phone, calm, so that you can digest properly and chew enough so that your body can work through the digestive process? Do you have friends? Do you have a community that you belong to? Do you feel valuable in your groups that you're in? Do you feel good enough? Now, one of the things that typically is a red flag for women who are struggling is they never feel good enough. We kind of tune into that radio station, the I'm not good enough radio station, and we can't get out of it. And it's a horrible place to be. And it requires routine, morning routine, the time you get up, what you do, the first few things that you do in the morning. These things are important for setting up positive mindset for the day. And there's 100 other things. Being sedentary is a no-no. So having some form of activity or movement daily in your life. This is part of establishing normal surroundings and natural habits. That's number one. Number two is economizing vitality. So vitality is a finite resource. Things that take vitality away are processed, lifeless foods, undigestible foods, food-like substances, things like, you guys can probably give me some examples, but something your grandmother would never have recognized, like fat-free sour cream. What is that? Or soft serve ice cream. What is that? And so on. Things like that are not foods, really. Undigestible foods are foods that are too hard for your gut to digest. Like maybe, they make you fart all the time because you can't digest them. Economizing vitality. Another thing that takes away our vitality are mental and emotional and spiritual circumstances. Excessive, unbalanced physical activity. Exercising too hard takes away your vitality. Dysfunctional relationships takes away your vitality. And so when I'm working with people in a holistic, comprehensive approach, all of those things come into it. They're part of the social environment of the person or the physical environment of the person. Being exposed to chemicals in the workplace, having air freshener, artificial air freshener in your car the whole day. All of these things zap your energy. And so we need to stop the leaks. We need to add energy. And the way that a naturopath might do that is through naturopathic counseling or coaching. Homeopathy will help, herbs will help, nutrients, foods, maybe hydrotherapy, acupuncture, electrical therapies, walking on the earth, barefoot, going to the beach, these kinds of things, aromatherapy, massages. I have a lovely lady that I refer people to for aromatherapy massage, and ladies, cellulite treatment. She does cupping for cellulite treatment. Woohoo! So that's number two, economizing our vitality. Now, number three, building the blood. When I do some live blood analysis, I can see if people's blood has lost vitality. So blood and lymph need to be full and nutrient dense and lively, if you like. So we need to understand what makes that: digestion, the liver, the heart, good circulation, so that the good blood flow is reaching the organ that it needs to get to, so that organ can function properly. If your uterus is not happening, it could be that you're all congested around your abdominal area, that you need to stretch and open that area, the chi to come back into that area. Or some herbs that help decongest pelvic congestion and so on. So we look to things that restore digestive function, that improve our circulation, that open us up, that add nutrients to the blood. That's very important. And that's our number three. And then our number four, and notice this is sometimes the thing that people do first. And I don't like to do this first because it makes healing feel like drudgery. It makes healing feel like, she told me I can't drink coffee, I can't eat chocolate, I can't do this, I can't do this. You know, if sometimes people won't come to a naturopath because they think that I'm going to tell them they have to give up everything they enjoy in their life, and it's not true. So number 4 is promoting the elimination of wastes and poisons. Detoxing, promoting the elimination of wastes and poisons. So what waste materials or toxins or poisons have you been exposed to? They're everywhere. Driving in the car, you'll get, you know, tire dust. Or maybe you've got one of those air fresheners in your car. Get rid of it. Use some essential oils instead. Maybe use cleaning products in your home that are toxic. Maybe you're eating sausages that have got MSG in them. Most of them do. Maybe you're, you know, like they're just everywhere. You've got to audit everything. You've got to also understand your anatomy and physiology, because many symptoms look like a disease or look like a condition, but are in fact just the body trying to detoxify itself. Acne, psoriasis, eczema, for example, are the body trying to cleanse itself. It's a reflection of inflammation, and often inflammation in the gut. So we want to promote the organs of elimination. That's the liver, the kidneys, the digestive system. Even the lungs eliminate, and the reproductive system eliminates. Out through the skin, we can eliminate by sweating, for example. And so eliminating wastes and poisons out of the body, absolutely critical. And that could be the wrong kind of estrogen in your body as well. If you've taken a pill for a long time, or HRT, we need to support the elimination of those hormones out of the body. And so there's lots of modalities and things that we can do in the naturopathic world. Number 5, we're almost good here. Number 5 is to correct body mechanics. And this is where we might need a referral to an acupuncturist or a Bowen therapist or an osteopath or chiropractor. But one of the things that you might not be aware of is with urinary frequency, for example. A lot of women have urinary frequency, going to the toilet too often, or polyuria. And if you're a busy, rushed woman, typically what happens is you sit down to go to the toilet, squeeze it out really quickly. It's not quite empty, but you're off onto the next thing because you're in a hurry, and there's still a little bit there. And then off you go, and then in an hour's time, you need to go to the toilet again. The other thing that can happen is that when you sit, you bend your ureter, I think it's called ureter, I don't think urethra, one of the two, and it causes a little bit of a blockage to the bladder. So all you have to do is just stand up a little bit, you kind of wee, go to the toilet, do a wee. You think, am I finished? So you just stand up for a little while, straighten things out, and then you can sit down again, and then you finish off. Complete evacuation. We want good, complete evacuation of the bowels and good, complete evacuation of the kidneys, and you'll feel so much better. I'll tell you what. My mum used to hold on, which is not good. And she would say, oh, I have to go. I'm up to pussy's bow, which is basically, I don't know where she got that from. She would say that sometimes when she was full as well. But anyway, so correcting body mechanics, that can cause headaches. If there's something wrong with the neck, it can cause lower back issues. There's so many things that we need gentle body correction for. Sometimes it relieves by just relaxing things, but other times we need to get someone to help us with that. And now my last one, number 6. This one's a biggie. And this is the difference between naturopathic or natural medicine and Western medicine or traditional medicine or doctor medicine. We encourage personal responsibility. There needs to be a sense of personal effort involved. This is not the quick fix. This is not a pill for every ill. This is not cut it out and the problem goes away. There's a philosophy in natural medicine that it isn't just bad luck that you get ill. These days we call bad luck bad genes. Everyone has genes. It's what we do with those genes that's important. So disease doesn't strike randomly, unprovoked, and without reason. It happens for a reason. It's our language of the body. It's telling us something. We need to understand that pills don't fix you. The doctor doesn't fix you. You are your own best doctor. You are the healer. All we're doing is activating that, empowering that, facilitating that. And that will help you understand why we're implementing the strategy. So learning and being educated in this kind of philosophy is absolutely essential from your practitioner, so that you know, why did she give me vitamin C? Or why do I have to do 5 minutes of exercise every day, or whatever? Because we're trying to restore health and well-being, and not just palliate or eliminate or placate symptoms. Every interaction with your practitioner should be inspirational and motivational and inspiring, because you're becoming the wild woman, you're becoming the wise woman. And my last little comment here is some research into the only other animal on the planet that has a menopause that we know of anyway. And it's 5 species of whale. And the whatever you call the people who research whales, don't know that actually. They have found that they've studied these postmenopausal whales, and they've found their role in society is leaders. They actually lead the community. So they have this strong connection with the offspring. They are often the ones connected to the babies for their lives, where the boys kind of run off. And they know the traps, they know the lay of the land, they know the process, they know what to look out for, and they become the leaders of the community. And I believe absolutely that postmenopausal women in their 50s and 60s, are meant to lead our community. They're meant to be our leaders. And they collaborate with men that age and others as well. But to my mind, the absence of enough women, female leaders that are wise, the grandmother age, experienced, awakened, healthy, vibrant, all these things, is what we're dealing with in our society at the moment, with all the things that are not happening, that are not great for us. To me, it's the absence of the postmenopausal women leading the way. And it's my mission to empower as many women as I can into the leadership role that they want to take in their life, whether that's just leading their family, leading a charity, leading a business, leading an organization, and so on. That's my mission. So let me have a look a little bit more at the cetology, is the study of whales. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Don't we love the help? Thank you. All right. So any more questions? I've got a little bit more to share with you, and I'm just going to change my notes here and hope that you're connecting with what I'm saying. I think you are. I'm getting a few vibes that you are. And excuse me, just while I sort out a couple of things. Here you are. And I'm conscious of the time. We're going to go a little bit over. I hope that everyone's okay with that. I've just got a little more to share with you. And so here we go. So, oops, nearly ended the meeting. That's not good. I hope that I have just blown your mind. I hope that it has actually fulfilled my intention, and that is to give you a very different perspective that you'll get out there in the mainstream world about what's going on for you and how biologically important you are and how huge a change that you're going through. And I know that perhaps for some of you at least, it's the first time ever that you're excited or even at least curious about what could be possible for you after menopause. What is this leader that I'm meant to be? And if you had the energy, if you had the nerve and the courage and the confidence and the clarity, what would you be? What could that be? You'll have a sense of it in your life. It'll be maybe what you've been wanting to do your whole life, maybe what you put on hold when you had children. This is the dreams that we bury for biological survival of the species. Maybe you can pop it in the chat if you're brave. Would you want to change careers and go and do something that you've really wanted to do your whole life? Or would you leave that crappy corporate job and start your own business? Would you go back to school and study something? So many women go back to school and study something. Or maybe you'd kind of update your fashion style and go back out on the dating scene. Certainly fashion is one of my little side passions that's come up since I've hit menopause. Or maybe you'd like to go solo traveling, a little bit like Eat, Pray, Love style, and go and rediscover yourself somewhere in Italy or India or something. What's your desire? What is it for you? Write it down in the chat if you know it. And then what's stopping you? Are you adrenally fatigued, exhausted, run out of energy, anxious and stressed, so you don't even want to think about it? Just another thing to do, right? Or maybe you're all over the place with the brain fog. You can't even think straight, let alone, change careers. It would be just all too overwhelming. Or maybe you're in a really low point in your life and it's more low mood and depression that you're dealing with. That can be very stymieing. It can really stop us in our tracks for a long time. It's a horrible place to be. I can tell you, I know that one. So I'd like to show you how I can help you to be fabulous after 50. And I'd like to show you my 3-phased approach to midlife magnificence. Would that be okay with you guys? I'd like to let you know how you can go from burnout to standout and increase your energy so that you can take better care of yourself and find the time to do the things that you want to do. Go for walks, have your nails done. This program or my approach will show you how to calm down and comfort yourself so you have the boundaries that you really need to set, with other people so you can get your life sorted. You need a bit of space in there rather than doing things for everybody else all the time. And then, of course, you kind of need more confidence. My whole purpose, this education is the big part of what I do, is so that you have confidence and clarity on what you really want to do. You can be your own Oprah or whatever version of that is for you, whoever your role model is. But let me tell you a secret. I kind of know you've probably dieted tons of times before. You've probably done exercise programs before, probably flogged yourself at the gym before. I know I have done the cottage cheese and lettuce diet and many others that were like the Beverly Hills diet, which is just pineapple all day, and it made my tongue go numb and really sore. I know, I really get it. And that can be really scary when you're looking at potentially doing something new, because there's that sense of failure. But that's why I've really designed my approach to be so different. I really want to be able to take people through stages so that they can get the wins in. and take their time and go their own pace. It's designed, my approach is designed to be deeply kind and honoring and uplifting, because you're on a spiritual journey. And spiritual journeys are about love. And if it's not loving, and if you're hating what you're doing, it's not right. And then, of course, my approach is totally designed for the mature woman. So what works for the pert 25-year-old woman isn't going to work for you necessarily. Only you know what works for you, really. And you want to teach yourself that and learn to listen to that and grow into that. And that can be hard, because we've had a lifetime of being told that you can't trust your intuition. You've kind of been told you're too loud, or you're too soft, or you're too invisible, or you're too sexy, or you're too boyish, or too fat, or too thin, or all these things that really undermine our ability to learn to trust ourselves. And that's where the embodiment work, the presence work, becomes really powerful. So my goal is not to dictate to you. It's not to give you 10 bottles of something and send you off with the fun-free diet to go and work it out yourself. I take the time to work with you. And that's why I became a coach. That's why I do ongoing naturopathic education every day, all the time. And maybe it takes a little bit longer, my approach, but to be honest, how many quick fixes have you tried? And where has it got you? It just takes you down the rabbit hole, really. So if you are interested in working with me, or at least interested in finding out more, it's super easy. All you have to do is request a one-on-one session chat with me, which is half an hour to identify your main problems that you're working with at the moment or dealing with at the moment. I'll give you a resource that you can take away if you want to do DIY. And we'll work out whether we're a good fit to work to each other. I have a whole referral pathway that I can give you if it's not the right fit for you right now, or not the right time. So all you have to do is put a Y or a yes in the chat box, and I'll be in touch. I'll save the save the chat, and I'll be in touch with you. No obligation, no pressure. Curious, pop a Y in the chat. You've nothing to lose. You'll get to know me better, and we can find out something about what's going to help you. It's all about serving you. And if you jump in and do that connection with me right now, I've got a little bonus for you. And if you've been following me for a while and you have this bonus already, I'll give you another one. But I had this wonderful kitchen interview with a lovely lady called Tori von Bergen recently. We were in her kitchen doing a demonstration, looking at how to make beautiful foods and sharing nutritional wisdom, and it was recorded. And so Tori is the owner or co-owner of Billabong Retreat, if you don't know her name. Amazing woman, and I have a recording that I'll give to you free if you pop your name in the chat before the end of today. Now, I'm going to leave you with a question, just to kind of get you thinking. If you had listened to this 12 months ago, if you had the energy, the courage, the confidence to really do what you want to do with your life and what's left of it, what could you have done? Maybe you'd have earned more money in your business. Maybe you would have gotten that pay rise or that promotion that you were after. Maybe you would have left all that stress and gone and started your own business. Whole new lot of stress, by the way, but much more fun. What is your dream that's waiting for you to dig it up? That's a question worth asking yourself. So thank you. I would like to now invite somebody brave, and to come and allow me to chat with you. Let me just get gallery view up here. Allow me to chat with you. Oops, hold on one second. I'm going to close this down. All right. Thank you for still being here, everyone. Would anyone like to put their hand up for a 5-minute chat, even a 5-minute chat? Just a few things. You don't have to share in any of the intimate details, but 5-minute chat, a little bit about your particular circumstances, and I might ask you a couple of questions. And I've got something here in the chat. Oh, I should read the chat. You've got a minute to think about it. Let me have a look here. Love your mission. Oh, thank you. Headaches getting better. All right. Okay. Sorry to hear that. Oh, good. Okay. Fabulous. Thank you, Georgie. Anyone put their hand up yet? I mean, you don't have to. It's all optional. I just thought I'd make that possible if somebody wanted to ask me a specific question, but I don't see anybody putting their hand up or popping it in the chat. No? Let me see. Oh, you're all shy. That's cool. I know it's personal. Oh, we've got one. Anne, can you
Hi.
Hi, can you do your video so I can see you?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a newbie on this Zoom, so I'll do my very best to find. Oh, here we go. I've got it. Yeah, it's me.
Hey, are you?
Hi.
Hi. Where are you based?
In Orkney.
Which
the
is
top
where?
of Scotland.
Scotland.
The top of Scotland, yeah, the very top.
Oh my gosh. That's
so
cool. That's amazing. By the way, I do all my work online, so I'm hoping to get an international client very soon. So, and so share with us what you're willing to share in a nutshell. A couple of challenges that you're having right now.
Yeah, so I'm 58, so I think I may have gone past the menopause, but I found it's a huge mountain, and I believe that the cycle still exists. That there's certain times of the month where I'm finding it more challenging, and it's almost like you're still on your period, and I embrace what you're saying about entering the crone and the wisdom and everything else. So, but I found that my work life has really struggled as I've got older. You know, I could multitask. I remembered things. I cannot be without my notepad now. I'm in fear of forgetting things. But also I've become a bit more timid. And I'll be honest, I'm being bullied at work by somebody. I think I'm told because I'm threatening, because I'm good at what I do. I switched industries. It's not my tribe. I'm struggling to deal with it. But I think what I struggle with more is that I'm also I've become a people pleaser. And I don't know if that's related to menopause, that kind of knocking confidence. So you don't speak your truth, or you don't articulate as well as you can. I can't articulate like this in front of my boss because of the dynamic, if you know what I mean. So I've got to make decisions about whether I leave and what do I do, but take ownership. And I feel that the way my physicality is, I struggle with my weight. I get myself out for walking. It resonates. I was on the beach yesterday. Nature restores, especially with a pandemic. But it's maintaining that. It's keeping it up. And food has been my solace. So I guess I'm asking, could it all be connected, with a big cycle? I'm on a big hamster wheel of...
Yeah, well, I think that one of the things that happens for women that don't embrace their wild woman and their wise woman, because perhaps they don't understand it or their environment doesn't give them permission, is that we become invisible. We're at risk of becoming invisible. So a lot of women wear more black. And particularly if you're putting on a little bit of weight, the tendency to wear black is really strong. But black is an invisible color. Black is hiding. And I love that you're in bright purple and pink's what it looks like on the screen. But going invisible and hiding and shrinking within ourselves is a response to the environment pretty much, and we're part of that. We create our own environment to some degree as well, where we aren't given permission to be our authentic self. And so exactly. I'm not suggesting that you change your job or anything like that, because that's obviously your call. I can hear in you a lot of your own answers. You just need someone to give you the thumbs up and say it's okay to take the leap, or it's okay to be that way. It's okay to have gorgeous hair with beads down the side. It's okay to be grey. It's okay to be plump. It's okay to eat too much chocolate. And I think that what starts to happen is this better alignment with our soul's calling or our authentic self. And it's slowly we work our way back to the path I think that we're meant to tread. I actually think that there is a path there that where we're most aligned. It's the path that is the most joyful. That's where we're headed. And our symptoms tell us we're not there. They're kind of a little kick in the butt. Come on, love, you're drinking too much. Something's not right. Go and do a course in meditation and learn to blah, blah, blah. Or, I don't know, it's very individual. Every woman's menopause is unique, as in every woman's life is unique. But 58 is a perfect time. It's the most powerful time for a woman. Age, the most powerful age, because you're kind of out through menopause a few years, but you're not quite into your 60s yet. It's a really great time to, make the tough decisions.
Yeah. Embrace the power of that age, really. Yeah.
And I think that when you realize that 50-year-old women are meant to be leaders, then if you're not getting that in your work life, then that's not right for you.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I've got to. And it's making decisions. Actually making decisions give you that energy. You can feel an energy from moving forward by making a definite decision. So you're not having it. You're doing something. And the gut health, is that tied up with mental health? Would you say, is there a link between the two?
Yeah, there definitely is. Well, your gut is where you produce your serotonin, your happy hormone. And inflammatory gut conditions produce brain inflammation. It's also the gut's where you have to digest your protein. So you've got your raw materials for your neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin and, all those hormones or neurotransmitters in the brain that make up our mood. So, yeah, and stress can impact gut. It shuts down the circulation to the stomach, and that can really impact. So some beautiful herbs soften the nerves around the gut and can really help digestion. Even things like teas can be helpful. But yeah, I just want to acknowledge you for reaching out and coming on and being my guinea pig or being my showcase person. I think that I encourage you to have a look and see where perhaps you can make some brave decisions and get the support you need in order to not freak out from all of that.
Thank you. And I'll just show you what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at.
Is that the sea?
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock in the morning, everybody. So.
Oh, wow. What a blessing. Thank you so much for showing us that. I can't believe Scotland. I haven't even been there yet.
All right. Thank you.
Well, ladies, we're going to finish up here now. Thank you so much for being here and for listening through. I'm so grateful. And I know you guys need to sign off. It's overtime. Thank you very much. Love you all. Take care, and we'll see you. You'll get my emails and we'll connect. Thank you very much, Gisela. Victoria, thank you. Nell, see you Thursday. Bye-bye, Anne. And
Bye.
see you, Claire. Thank you. Wonderful. Bye, Julie.